Hello, everyone. So basically, we're here today with Amanda. So Amanda's the director of the Right Mortgage Network. A lot of you will know her already, but some of you may not. So yeah, we'll just kick off if you can, Amanda, just to introduce yourself a bit and just explain a bit about what you do and the network, if you can.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Dan. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm actually a lot quieter than most people think I am. I'm just loud when I don't think anybody's looking at me. So, I'm one of the directors, shareholders of the Right Mortgage. We've just had our 10th anniversary. We're very proud of where we've got to with the network. And this is what this conversation is about today, really, is how we have stuck to our principles of when we started the network. We started a network called Personal Touch in 1994 and stayed constantly top 5 networks. Anybody knows me, they know that I'm not going to talk any more about it because I can definitely get myself into trouble. But anyway, now I can liken it to being a grandparent. So you make all the mistakes on the first child, and then you get the grandchildren, spoil them, and you stick to your values of enjoying financial services. That's what we started to do it for. We started Personal Touch to make life easier for IFAs at the time, add more strings to their bow. And then when we had to start it all over again, 2015, we built it on the structure of understanding that compliance is there to support advisors. It's not there to punish advisors, and we stick with that. So we've got a common sense approach. All of the directors, well, definitely all of the shareholders were advisors themselves, albeit in the 80s, which was slightly different world than it is now.
Right.
But now we try to keep that as real, and that's what we've just been talking about, isn't it? Keeping it real, keeping it understanding. People that advisors and firms are self-employed in the main, but they're not treated like businesses. So I've just been recently appointed. That was the self-appointed.
Yeah, don't ask me about English. I've spoken it for a while now, but I've already
to use all my experiences. This sounds a bit arrogant, but this is honestly, this is where I feel I am at the moment. I've got a fantastic team around me that are all worked really hard. We're all sing from the same song sheet. So I can start looking at strategies and how I want things to go and where we all see it going. Martin's got a wealth of experience, knowledge and direction. And I'm just like a wind-up toy. He tells me what to do, and I've got the energy to hopefully to implement it with a great team around me.
And it's a family business, isn't it? So Martin's your husband?
Yeah, Martin's my husband. Martin started Personal Touch. Martin, a lot of people know Martin because he's actually been in the industry since 1984, and it surprises me how people just come up to me and say, "Oh, I used to work for Martin, General Portfolio."
Right.
It still surprises me now that how many advisors there were from General Portfolio, Allied Dunbar, Abbey Life Days that have we're still here.
Yeah.
Old, but still here.
Yeah, it just goes to show there is obviously still a lot of people coming in into the industry for like young guys, but there is still the older cohort as well. It's still in the game, which shows that there is legs in the game, evidently.
Yeah, but it's fun, isn't it? I always say that, and I'm talking to you about this, and you enjoy doing what you do, and that's your heartbeat of what you want to do, and it should be because you've got time for your day, don't you? But you think of when you were at school, and I say this all the time, so anybody that knows me will go, "Oh, I was going to say it again," but it's true. It's like if when you were at school, you said you wanted a job where you had to. You work the hours you want to, you can put yourself at the monetary value you want to earn, you can wear what you want to, take holidays when you want to. And all you've got to do is talk to people and a bit of admin if you can't afford to pay for someone to do your admin. No careers advisor would have told you to go to financial services.
Yeah.
See what you can do.
Yeah.
As a mother, I've had 5 children and worked on and off through all of them because you don't really need to take time.
You're a brave lady, aren't you?
It was good though, because 3 of them worked for me. One of them worked for me and he's gone away and he's gone off to find a different route in life, and the other one's an accountant. So they're all grown up. Even the one in Australia, I've got one in Australia and she's an art critic and she does our newsletter, our client newsletter, the newsletter associate.
Well, that's what I want to do with my kids. I want to get them involved in the business because it's it's a tax write-off as well, isn't it? You can pay them, and it's
Wherever you also don't have to worry about HR rules when you're talking to your own kid.
yeah, that's it.
Afternoon, it's great at house. Maybe it's doing a word search for the road shows we've got next week on our Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like I said. This is why I know, because we've had a good rapport over the years, and I know I saw one of your posts. This is why I've got you on primarily, because this is like with the exit fees and stuff, and the kind of, what's the word? Because this is what I'm all about: helping people, helping brokers with the pains that they're having, and obviously this is a pain that a lot are having in terms of like the exit fees and stuff. It's all kind of, what should you say, unscrupulous practices that are.
Exit fees.
Yeah.
You were self-employed.
Well, like you were saying, it's a beautiful position to be in, like you say, in terms of the role, because it's a similar role to mine. I appreciate my role every day. I can do it from anywhere in the world, really. Obviously, when I'm on holidays, all I need is a laptop. All you need is an internet connection and a laptop, and you can make a lot of money by doing it in your own time, on your own terms. And that is, like you say, that is one of the main principles of being self-employed. But the difference between my role and the broker's role is what we're talking about now. There's more and more heavy restrictions on what they can do and making money, which is, at the end of the day, is the whole point of business, is making money, and that is being negated by some of these networks.
Since they've got all the risks, really, and the networks. But the other thing, you just found out, which I've never thought of before, a lot of people, we have a directly authorised position as well within the network. But going directly authorised for a salesperson is a massive step. I think even going a salesperson being an AR is a massive step. Because if you're a salesperson, I'm sorry to say this, I'm a salesperson. I'm the most unorganised person on.
We're all most people to a degree. We have to be, don't we, if you're self-employed?
Yeah, because you're doing so many things all the time. And obviously where you come into this all the time is finding new clients is the key to any successful business. So if you've got to worry about regulation behind that, well, definitely the right answer so that you can focus on growing your business, doing all the business things that go with it. But like you said then, contracts, how many advisors or how many firms don't read contracts before they sign with a network? And somebody said the other day, this is one of my, I don't know whether this is an appropriate to say, but somebody was saying the other day that they've decorated their downstairs toilet and framed all of the golden handshakes they've had over the years that have been ended up being a load of shit. But
Sure.
not true. They're not a golden handshake. They're golden cufflinks.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, you're going to have to pay that back when you've borrowed it, or they're going to dictate your business to you because they've invested in you.
Yeah. And that's not a position you want to be in. Like I say, the whole point of self-employment, well, one of the main points is that freedom element. Be on your own, work on your own terms. And
the thing is about it, even a 3-month notice period might not sound a bad shout because you don't think you're going to leave. But a lot of networks will freeze pipeline.
Really?
You shut your systems down. We've got one at the moment coming across my network. They've shut it as soon as the reference went in. They shut his technology off. They've stopped his pipeline, and now he's got, because of client detriment, they're going to get another advisor to approach all the clients to finish the sale off.
Yeah.
Like, how can you do that?
Oh, it's not okay, is it? I think I might have even seen that, because obviously I speak to a lot of brokers. I'm in the groups and stuff, and it might have been that one or a similar situation. I'm like, it's shocking. It shocks me that that can actually be a thing, and that's possible to do, because that's someone's livelihood. That's someone's.
It's quite hard. You're stealing it, really, the data, and that's before we start talking about runoff cover PI. On network, it doesn't even exist. I don't think even brokers even know that it doesn't even exist. If you're directly authorised, it exists because you've moved cover. You need to be insured for the clients. That somebody needs to hold the insurance, but the network takes the insurance. It's our policy. It's not the firm's policy. So when you leave, and if they the network runoff cover of 2% of your last 3 years' earnings or whatever. Ask them for the contract, ask them for the policy that they've taken out, because they've still got the policy running. Ask them cancel your bit of the policy. But trying to get that through to people, that when you're signing for it, just ask those questions. What are the exit fees? It's going to be runoff cover. They'll have something else. I can't even remember what it is because it's such a stupid phrase. And if a complaint came in after you've left them and then they say they're going to pay you to look at the file, well, you only wrote the file for that network. You did their compliance. So, of course, they should be fighting any complaints that come in after you've left the network. But that's another thing that they hold people to ransom with. There's so many. I will write a document and then hope everybody reads it, and you can just ask the questions. I don't even care if you don't ask the right more of it, just ask the question.
Yeah, because I think there's obviously the new advisors who are just coming into the game as well, and they have got they don't know right from wrong in that sense. They don't know any different, so they're just gonna, because they want to, obviously, because it can take a long time to actually get FCA approved, and they just see that they might just go to a couple and then they'll just sign it because they don't know any different, and they're just it's signing away money in the long term, and it's. People need this, like this. This is obviously why we're doing this, just to educate people on these nuances and stuff to it, because people just don't know. Even some people have been in the game a long time, they don't know this stuff. So it's stuff that they need to know.
And we've done that. When I'm having a recruitment conversation with somebody, I've learned not to get into an argument with somebody about what their exit fees are going to be. So I'll quite often say, I can carry on having this conversation, but do you want to just go back to your network and ask them what, do it as casually as you can. Don't let them know you're going to leave. And then somebody's been upset about something, and they'll say, well, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to tell them. So no, don't tell them. Don't tell them until everything's been approved right to the last minute, because they'll just shut everything down straight away. And no, my network wouldn't treat me like that. And you know what? If they don't, then I don't want you in my network, because obviously please for the ego in.
Well, well, I want to touch on a few things. Obviously, I just want to talk about the main kind of pain points that advisors are having in the market at the minute generally. So we'll touch a bit more on the exit fees and then a bit more into it after, in terms of like lead gen, obviously is the stuff that I help people with. They're just obviously one of the main pain points, and the AI side of things. But just to touch back on the exit fees and stuff, like what are you guys? I know obviously we're not pushing your network or anything, but we want to help help advisors. But what are you guys doing differently to what some of the other networks are doing in terms of?
We have a 30-day notice period, but we also understand that people's lives change. We don't get on with everybody. That's life, isn't it? You just know, you didn't play with everybody on the playground. That's just life. We understand.
The right, you bro. They go to the right time, and it's like a partnership in a way, isn't it? Like,
so we have a 30-day notice period, but we're quite fluid with that. As long as they've got all of the data on the system, so that we can defend a complaint that comes in, the commissions will be paid out. If there's commission earning period left on them, we'll come to a deal. You either have to novate it, or you'll have to wait until the commission earning period's finished if it's protection. We're quite happy to novate in or out. That's another thing that a lot of networks won't do. They might say they will and then they don't. But we don't. Runoff cover doesn't exist, so we don't have any exit fees. There aren't any exit fees. You have a month's notice, so you pay a month's fee, which is £150 per person, which means you've got your technology, your PI right up until the end of it. But somebody left us recently to go on to do something different. We understand they've actually moved away from the people they moved from us to go to. So that's interest. That's all this year. Is that so? But he just got put in his FCA authorization, because we know it takes 3 weeks, and we were happy for him to put in his FCA application. So the two things dovetailed. So there's nothing. We don't have it. You will hear that. I did read something in the press, in one of the groups that we're both in, that somebody was anonymous. I love it when anonymous.
I was thinking, why? They've got their own weird in that book.
You are. who everybody is. So just by you saying that, I know who you are and you with your bit. And he said, you ruined my Christmas. You were protection only. You wouldn't put your files on the system. Protection's only paid for 4 years. You don't earn the money for 4 years. We're not going to pay you money that you haven't earned.
Wrong.
Always going to be anomalies, and that's okay as well.
It's quite all right. You're not gonna. Not everyone's gonna be happy, and yeah, that's something I've learned with. You don't need to please everybody, do you? You just work with people that you're aligned with. They are going to be the best people, and you have that, like you say, that best partnership with them. And everybody else who doesn't see the value in you, then crack on. Fair enough. It's up to them. You're not here to please everybody, are you?
No, and there's that phrase, isn't there, about there's 3 versions of everybody. It's the version you think you are, the version they think you are, and the version you actually are.
Yeah.
But you're going to change to please people.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody's got their own perspectives on everyone, including me and you, and their perspective. Then, yeah, you're not going to try and convince them of another one. It's just, yeah, let them crack on. It's not worth the time or effort trying to convince people that you're the right fit for them. If they think that, then.
About you, though, I don't understand why more people don't just. Everybody moans about not having clients. And that's, one of Martin's big things is everything is around the client. For our network, compared with other networks, do you know who our client is? It's our advisors. That's who our clients are, and that's who we look after. And why advisors then don't think what's important, it's like I was talking to you about the newsletter. We have 700 advisors and 170 that pay £40 a month for a newsletter that's pre-FP'd, sent out to their clients automatically. Any bits they can take off and put on social media because they've already got actual promotions. And people are just like, oh, well, it might not be relevant for my customers. It might not be.
Yeah. But again, yeah, on my side of things, I speak to so many people, and yeah, it's a small percentage of the people that I actually interact with who do actually, what's the word, just take the leap. Because it is a leap of faith, I get that, but it's a leap of faith that they need to take. It's business. I think it's taking a risk, a calculated risk, but it's still a risk, and that is part of business, is taking these risks. But I think a lot of, not specifically brokers, but people in business generally really struggle with taking that risk. That obviously, it's a calculated risk. You can't just take a willy-nilly risk. But that's something that I learned quite early on in my kind of entrepreneurial career, is to just if it feels right, just do it. Not procrastinate, because so many people do. They sit on, they'll consider it for like weeks, and then by the time even that's gone, they could have just done it and like generated 5 clients in that time and been that extra ahead. But yeah, people just struggle with it. But I think that is part of business's decision.
People's different successes. But Martin did. That's Martin. When I'm talking about things like that, I do think that is where Martin is. I was talking about this actually to somebody yesterday. Is that if there's something about Martin that I still admire? 32 years tomorrow.
We're saying your anniversary is this week.
32 years, such a long time. Is that having that all the time, even though he's now at the age he is, with the experiences and the kicks in the faces he's had in life? Because that's the other thing, isn't it? You take risks, they're not all going to work.
No, exactly.
One and you go on.
You still get something out of that, even if initially you didn't get a fast return on it. You've learned from it. And this is it, because I invest a lot into courses myself, and some of them initially I thought, this has been a waste, but I've still at least taken something from it, even though it might not have been initially what I went in it for. I've still taken something from it and learned something from it, and learned, maybe even if it was just not that, I've learned that wasn't the right thing to go. That's something I've learned to go ahead in the future and think, I'll not go that route. But yeah, it's all just making mistakes is part of it as well. So you need proof.
Isn't it? When you were walking, if your mum picked you up and carried you because you fell over the first time you walked, you'd still be in a pushchair.
Yeah.
You get up again and you go on. And look for a way of doing it that's not going to hurt next time.
Well, yeah, it was
That's Martin's strength. Martin's usually dragging me along and I'll go, no, I mean, that's going to work.
right.
It'll work.
Well, that's why it's worked in the long term, then, isn't it? That really, again, it's a partnership, isn't it?
And our whole national training event this year was about so that we've got trust, respect, and partnership and opportunities. And a lot of the things is sometimes you might not see the branch that's offered to you because you're not looking for it or you're looking elsewhere, but they're always there. It's just looking for them. And by not taking a risk, you're actually taking a risk.
Yeah, it's a bigger risk. Yeah, 100%. It's a bigger risk to not take a risk in the long term. But yeah, so in terms of, like I said, we'll touch on like the main pain points of the market, and obviously one of them is lead generation. And like, what have you seen? Like, how are people from your end, from your perspective, how are brokers generating business these days from your perspective?
I feel like, and the comment, like we did our peer group meetings a couple of weeks ago. So it was it seems to be because what was sat next to a broker that was stressing over how he's going to do all of these product transfers and interest-only mortgages that are coming up and not having enough time to do it. And should he have an admin? Should he employ an advisor? And then he didn't want it. So I thought, and then somebody else said, "Oh, market's dead, isn't it, with all these interest changes?"
Again, that's his perspective.
So I think the thing is we do try to encourage people to do. So we've got the newsletter. We do it. We're changing our. Not allowed to say self-policing because then will tell me off. But it will be so that we'll be teaching people of what not to say. So when they're working with somebody like you, that I think with what we were talking about earlier, there's somebody else that's been down because of using a social media company and they'd said something. But that's what we're here for. If you were working with one of our firms and it had to go through the social media, had to go through the marketing has to go through financial promotions, it's up to us then to say, you can't actually say that. Coercing, you're saying you're the best that there is and you have no evidence behind it and whatever it is, but that's up to us. So if you've got the raw materials from a marketing company, because again, would you go off and do your own mortgage and protection and GI insurance by yourself?
Yeah, and that's one. Yeah, it's the same.
I think he can do all that by himself.
Yeah, it's a good point. I've not thought of that one
I
before.
don't think I need one.
No.
That's what I say to people.
Yeah.
You need to find clients. So I think that we've got the clients are out there. The other thing that there seems to be a bit of talk about at the moment is AI taking over. And I think if AI took over the application form so that it gave advice, I don't see that's any different than it is now, because people that want to do it themselves will do it themselves.
Yeah.
So people that need that extra reassurance might go through an application form that is supposed to be execution only. And I think that if you've seen a broker, my personal opinion with mortgages, if you've seen a broker that hasn't made you feel that he's giving you advice and shopping around, then that was just the wrong broker. If you think you've listened to a broker and you then think you can go away and do it on your own, that doesn't matter whether there's AI.
They've not done the job properly by selling the value. And yeah, I think that is, like, I did a LinkedIn newsletter about the other week about because obviously that is a question that is on a lot of brokers' minds. Will AI take over? And my perspective on it is if you're just doing kind of vanilla cases, just to kind of, it's easy for AI to do it even now, let alone ahead of time. Yeah. But I think the value in brokers is like specializing and being nuanced in their advice, finding these kind of intricate lenders that'll take on nuanced like situations, like because we help in terms of what we do is we help people with like high net worth stuff, and that this isn't specializing in a specific like industry or a specific customer profile. Like we've got people who specialize in like investment bankers, for example, and they've got a lot of different kind of like complex income and stuff, which if you just go to just a bank, for example, a local bank, they might refuse that because it's nuanced. And again, if you go to AI and try and find a mortgage for that all that different complex kind of situation, it's going to be difficult for even for AI to find that. That's where I think AI is not going to be able to touch these specialist guys who are just, like I say, they've got their kind of
Yeah,
they're all pressed down to a T, and they know these lenders to go to place that client, where it's going to be a lot more difficult for AI to.
and it's the same with insurance. It baffles me. My biggest, if you actually spend any time with me when I'm trying to be as generic as I can, because it's not my job anymore to be the protection development person, but the the amount of unprotected debt there is, even when you're talking about high net worth clients, you'll get a specialist broker that will do the specialist lending of it and leave it unprotected because they're rich enough.
Right.
Which actually means then they're going to have an inheritance tax problem, aren't they? So you're saying they're rich enough to cover the debt or their assets or their business, and that's, I could tell you, I could just go on and on and on.
Mm.
If a broker was going to position themselves because they have that fear that robots can take over, if you positioned it that you're going to charge a fee because you're going to look after them, because at the end of the day, getting the loan is probably the easiest bit. That's easy to go and get people a loan. Keeping what you're buying is the core.
Yeah.
And that baffles me all the time. And you're talking about customer segregation, and then everybody put it into, come to speak to somebody like you and show how AI and technology can do it. One of our oldest advisors, Bob Merentize, he's great. He's 70 odd. And he was with Abbey Life, and he earns a lot of money. He doesn't work full time. His wife bought him a mobile phone because he went to an appointment once and they'd phoned at the house to cancel it. And yet that was about 3 years ago. That's how technology is. But if you talk to him, he actually decided, he realized he does protection. And he realized that a lot of dentists and doctors that work for the NHS but have a private practice are only insured for their NHS wage, because private practice is a consultant.
Right. Yeah.
Without any technology, without any, how are you going to get leads? He hasn't even got a phone. His whole client base was then doctors and dentists that did private NHS, because he got it down to a fine art.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk to somebody like him who wasn't ever in the position of utilising technology, he'd probably say, that's great. He loves our new system. He actually does it himself.
Yeah.
First time he's ever touched technology.
Yeah.
It makes people's lives easier, but it shouldn't be replacing it.
Yeah.
It's the same then. Why do you think it fights against it?
Yeah. Well, this is something I was saying, that AI won't replace you, but the people, the advisors that are employing AI will replace you, because it's not about replacing it. It's just about, what's the word? Just helping people, helping advisors do a lot more with a lot less time. And that time is everything that we've got, isn't it? And if we can make them more, then if you could do in double the amount of output with half the amount of time, compared to a broker that's just trudging the wheels at doing the stuff how they've always done it, they're just going to overtake them massively, and they're just going to get left behind, and they're just going to get outworked and outperformed, and then eventually they're going to go extinct, because
I'm stressed because they're trying to keep up, and also putting the pressure on themselves because they're worrying about that and not thinking about it. But again, this is the risk thing, isn't it? It's the risk. If you don't take that risk, the risk back is that you're going to be under pressure. It's clients because you're not going to have the time. You haven't got a diary management system and whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. But I definitely think so. I think that it's a good broker, if they're looking after your insurances, your protection, and your lending. AI is not even. It shouldn't even be. But again, it's having confidence.
I get that it is a confidence thing, because it's new and people don't know it, and having confidence in something that you don't know about is, it's what's just hold you back in taking that leap into it. But this is something I say, just because there's a lot of people that look at AI as a big threat and it's all negative, which I get that, because it's a new technology, and you always get that that fear with it. But something I advise people to do is just get to use it. Just open ChatGPT, download ChatGPT. Yeah.
I, I actually, excuse me. Again, if you know me, you know, all my phones are exactly what my children have got. So when I delete the Notes app, which my whole life's on my phone, the weekend, because that's how tech savvy I am. No idea how to get it back. And I thought, if I embrace AI and look at it, not to the level you do, all, but the basics of it, then before I know it, I'll be that next step further without even realizing I know what I'm talking about. And this is what I said last week. Utilizing it, I have possibly, if anybody was going to analyze me, I'm sure I'd be somewhere in the ADHD bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even see my brain looking like one of those diagrams. So by using AI, from our conversation and a conversation I had with Lauren Bagman from Uninsure, managed to write myself a whole
Exactly.
and it's like, yes, those are the words I meant. I just didn't know where they were in my brain.
Right. It's helped it.
Jumbled up thoughts in the technology that we've just invested in from the network side of it, not the network. It's basically to stop me putting things in public domain. And then I put all those thoughts in. And I just came out and said, one of the phrases he came out with, what is the state of advisor network relationships? And it said, many advisors feel bound, not partnered. Saying that isn't those simple words.
Yeah, it just articulates what your thoughts are, because it's not AI saying this. Because the thing is, when you start to use it, like I use one called Claude, it's similar to ChatGPT, but either way, it's got a memory and it gets to learn what you're talking about, and it knows you in a way. So it'll suggest something that is based on what you've already said, which is obviously in your kind of narrative. So it's not just purely AI spitting something out that's completely different to what's going on in your head. It's a contrast of the two, but it just helps you articulate what, like in your example, what brings it out.
The articulation of it. Did you just say that? And I thought, that's exactly, if I was going to nail it, it is that. Sometimes there's words in there and I think, thank you.
Yeah.
Those words. But if I haven't got it's not replacing me. I couldn't say to my marketing team, there's some ideas, run that through AI and put it as a press release, because I've still got to check it afterwards, because there will be things in it. But you asked me and I thought, how would I answer that? And I thought, what was the question again? Because I don't know what that answer even means. So then you have to check it, because it's
and make it your own kind of more
relevant. And
yeah, because I think you can, because a lot of people are now, because there's different levels of AI. I think a lot of people are now using it to a shallow level where they're just kind of putting something in ChatGPT and then just going straight with it. And you can tell on, like, LinkedIn, we're both on LinkedIn a lot. I can tell that that's just pure. They've just copy and pasted it and it's not in their own words, and it's not. You can even tell there's little, like, what they call, like a dash between. AI puts a lot of dashes in there where I wouldn't normally, and I can see that, and it's not in their own words. But I think the thing is, like I say, it's something I coach my advisors on is, yes, using that, what it gives you as a template, but just kind of copy and pasting that into like a Word doc, going through it and taking out any words that you wouldn't say and replacing them with words you would say, and just making it authentic and use it and making it like a hybrid of the two, rather than just going straight with what it produces and copy and pasting it, because it's just a bit just, what's the word, just unauthentic, isn't it, when it needs to be, like, obviously the stuff that we help people with is a lot of content that they're putting out there. It needs to be authentic, and it needs to be from you and your terminology, and that's what keeps your message consistent and authentic.
And I think as well, for me, if I was an advisor now, utilizing the service that you offer, that's what you would keep that on track. While you're busy with everything else and you're doing your AI, it might be easier to just copy and paste them and throw it out to your clients. I think it's just something going out. and then your clients won't feel your heart, not
Yeah.
only feelings first.
Right. Yeah. Right. Especially in financial services, I think you need, it's a trust game, isn't it? And you need to, yeah, put yourself out there. That's again a big thing that we help people with, is like personal branding and creating that authority and your voice and your ethos. And AI, when it's completely AI, just kind of negates that benefit, because it's not you and it's not your voice and it's not your ethos. So it needs to be retained.
If you think about it, you're saying that, if you think about it, in today's world, I'm not a big lover of everybody looking the same.
Yeah.
Women my age all seem to look the same these days, which is up to them. That's fine. I've never criticised anybody, but I just think, don't you realise how beautiful you are inside comes
Yeah.
outside of you?
People correct with
With AI, it's the same thing, isn't it? You can't just have
the right.
the thing, because
Yeah.
people think it looks good.
Yeah.
I think it looks
How
good. You
professional.
don't feel, there's nothing behind it. You don't mean.
Yeah. Which is why again we help people with LinkedIn, which isn't the primary kind of platform we help people with. And I think a lot of the problem on LinkedIn is people trying to sound corporate and trying to sound too polished and professional, and it's just bullshit. It's
Hear that? As a person, I always think this with people. How would you hear it back? I'm listening to somebody, and we used to say, like, way back in the 80s, if somebody was coming across like that, when you think of the Wolf of Wall Street type of things, and go and see what car they've got parked around the corner.
yeah.
They're telling you about the 50,000 investment plan that they've done, and their
Yeah.
£50,000 and this corporate pension, and you're like, being materialistic. That's just being, so why are you hitting your car around the corner? You just grab the bus because you've got so much money. But why? Why do people do it? Because it's not adding value to anybody's life.
Yeah.
That's the subject completely.
Yeah, but I think it is a key one to show, because I think a lot of people are, just losing connection by trying to be something that they're not. And I know LinkedIn is that environment, and people think that need to, because they will speak completely different on like Facebook compared to what they do on LinkedIn, but that's not genuine, is it? And then that's what people connect with, is human kind of authenticity. And because this is what
What those people that didn't get that memo.
Well,
Even I press didn't get.
yeah, I think because I used to be really against, like, I know this is a bit of a weird one, but it's like swearing on calls and stuff. Well, I swear, and that's just me. And if people get offended by that, then probably not the right person for me. But obviously, there's a balance. I don't kind of swear on really like big. For me, it depends on the customer profile. But like online, I'll swear now, and people just see that you're real if you swear.
Well, it's emotional. I always think that with swearing, I do it sometimes.
A lot of the time.
It's actually that is an emotional expression, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a human thing that we all do. Everybody does it, I think. Well, not everybody, but probably 90% of people swear. And
there are limits to it. I do think.
Yeah. It's balance.
So never criticise somebody for swearing. They're swearing too much.
That's for them.
If he can hear it,
Well, right.
because he's up there.
Yeah. But going back to what you said as well about specialising, I think that is a big part of what we say is what's lacking in, like with brokers. I think most people are just going for just that general market, where I think if you specialise, it just makes you so much more appealable to the right people, and it's specialising in a specific market. And it does, like you said, it makes your life so much easier when you can learn those specific lenders that will accommodate that specific customer profile.
Well, we've done this at the network. So I will talk about a bit about the network, because I'm actually quite proud of this, because we've always done it. It's always been our thing. Like I said, in 1994, any financial services, except for mortgages, interestingly enough, had to go through regulation. Then we discovered non-regulated life, and how you could just go and do an application form, basically. Saying that, anybody could sell a mortgage up until 2000.
This is different, different paradigm.
So we've always been, I think one of our first phrases at Personal Touch was to add fruit string to the bow, to financial advisors so that they can talk about anything. And as we've gone on with technology and understanding and the products that are out there, we encourage people to have their specialist subject and then refer. So if your specialist subject is being a bread and butter mortgage broker with protection, a bit of protection and a bit of GI, keep your mind open, because sometimes you might spot that just you think you've done a good job because you solved the critical illness.
Yeah. There's another door. Yeah.
They're a director of the company and they could have had a specialist insurance.
Yeah.
Referral partners within the network that we encourage, don't lose a sale. Like, I mean, something you must say is that once you've got the customer.
Oh, yeah. There's more you can.
And I think with protection only advisors, there's that continual, how do you get the next client? But you don't sell enough protection the first time you see somebody anyway, and people's lives change. Why?
Well, I'm sure that later on.
And then equity release. It doesn't mean, and the first time it hit me with equity release is a friend of mine had spent a lot of money on a credit card. She was even too scared to tell her husband. And she was talking about, what to do and whatever. And she said, what do you think about equity release? I said, you can't do equity release. You have to come under a certain age criteria. And she said, I'm 63. And I was like, what do you mean you're 63? And she was a fitness instructor at David Lloyd. She's got long black hair. She's got legs up to her boobs. She's as natural as you can get. And I'm looking at a 63-year-old thinking, you could have actually done an equity release situation. So if I didn't think that because it's my friend, I just think when they're sat in front of somebody trying to do like all these interest-only mortgages that are going to come to an end shortly, a lot of scared people, 55 plus, might not be eligible for your traditional equity release. So refer it to a proper equity release specialist. Find a retirement or a credit drawdown or whatever that suits that client's circumstances, rather than just saying, I'm sorry.
If they don't know the full. Yeah, I think that's something we help people with as well, is like with their offer, just putting out, because I think there's so many brokers who at least they know a little bit about a lot of things, but they're not specialists in those areas and they're not going to do a proper job. So it's kind of it's doing them an injustice and their clients.
I mean, you're going to see your GP, you're going to see your GP about something, and they're a general practitioner. So they'll give you, it's fine if you've got a cold or you've got something, but they'll refer you as soon as they think that it's out of their comfort zone. And a doctor that's trained to do that. So why brokers can't say, well, actually, I specialise in.
And really build it one too.
What I'm going to do is get you to speak to a colleague of mine. And that's another missed opportunities in belief.
And like you said, like in terms of what GPs get paid compared to like specialist consultants, massive variance there. I think there's so many brokers just putting out everything that they do. But they put out, we do mortgages, we do protection, and there's a lot of firms and advisors are doing to lease as well. They're doing a bit of financial planning even, and they're putting all that out, and it's just too kind of ambiguous, and it's too much of people just don't need everything all at once, do they? And it's just going to overcomplicate them when they're putting their message out. But if you just focus on the one thing that they do, is again, the thing that we help people with is specializing in one customer profile and learning what their specific kind of pain points are to that one specific service that they specialize in. It just hits home, and it kind of just resonates specifically with that customer profile. So depending on their pain points, like say we work with people on like high net worth stuff, and a lot of their pain points is that they've got complex income and stuff. So when they articulate that in the message, it just resonates 10 times more powerful than it would if you put out a message saying, we do protection, we do mortgage, we do financial planning, we do extras. To anyone and everyone, just give us a ring. And it's just, that message, that general message compared to that nuanced kind of specialist message, if it's put in front of the right people, it's going to be no brainer that they're going to go with that, compared to the generalist one. When you're putting out, are you an investment banker? Do you struggle with complex income, and it's just, it's a no-brainer that they're going to go.
Isn't it? Thrown a lot of mud at the wall, which works. I think when you start a business, when we started the network, I just phoned everybody.
Right, yeah, you have to do initially. Yeah,
That's it. And then you get to a point.
Yeah, that you learn what's working and what's not, and it's again, like touched on before the call started, before I pressed record, is just making mistakes, I think, and learning what's working, because mistakes is a part of the process in a way, and finding out what's working and what's not. But I won't.
Actually, this is where my brain knows I've gone quiet because I'm thinking, all these things.
The cogs turn.
Cogs turning, and also as well, I mean, I do think with our network, we're very, I'm an 80s salesperson, so it doesn't sit with me not to be rah, rah, rah. And, you talk to Richard Coulson or Peter Rudnicki, and I just love let's get the sales in, get the really decent, nice, and I love it. But I think our network, we try not to do that. We reward people for doing well, but we also reward people for getting it right rather than making a lot of sales.
Yeah.
I think that if somebody's happy to do 40, 50,000 a year, it doesn't mean that we should penalise them or not support them. It's just still help them do it in as little time as possible, in a most efficient way, so that they have life. Because obviously, if you're happy to be earning 40,000, it's because you've got other priorities in life.
For
the other priorities, it doesn't matter what your actual goal is. I think that's the important.
People have different goals, don't they? Like, not everybody wants to scale a massive business. Not everyone wants to earn six figures even. They just want to have a balance, a decent balance, and that's fine. Everybody's got their own priorities in life. People got family, and this is again the beauty of this model, that it can give you that. If you don't need to be earning a massive amount, if you've got family and stuff, and that's your priority, and you can still be earning 40, 50K, and not all money. It's about freedom, isn't it? It's about living the life you want to live.
All of your goals.
But not everybody sees that, and they think that it's all about scaling scaling a team, and it's not. You can earn a decent living and have a good balance, just being on your own, maybe having an admin assistant, and then you can free up your time to. Life is not about money; it's about fulfillment, isn't it? And you can be earning a lot of money, but not doing the things that you want in life, and that's not.
Been down dead before you've had time to spend the money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure. Is it coming out of that?
Yeah.
The thing that we do at the network, which is sort of along these lines, is a lot of brokers are working hard now, whether it's scaled up, scaled down, whatever, without having an end game plan.
Yeah.
So we've got a retirement plan in the network, which we use also as a death in service type of thing. And unfortunately, it came about because we had an advisor that was 34, married with 3 children. And he came to the NTE, which was the November time, and nobody could get hold of him in January. And then in February, his wife phoned and said he's got terminal cancer. And he knew, but he just did nothing about it. He just died. So he was left there with all of his clients. And do you know how many of the people were, leave it to me, don't worry about it, I'll sort that out for you. And you think, and you'll get paid and you'll do it, because everybody's actually clients. So we put this retirement plan and death in service plan together so that the network takes the clients but pays somebody 75%. And now that's evolved from, I don't know how long ago he died, about 5 years ago. That's evolved too. We've got people that are now specialising in equity release, but they've got all these mortgage clients from the past and protection clients that they don't want to do. So I'm just using equity release as an example. So we take on the clients for them for anything other than the equity release. So they're still seeing the clients, they're still specialising in it, but then all the hard work that doesn't earn as much money as equity release, we're doing, and they get 50-50 split on everything.
Right.
Churned behind the scene. If you come across an equity release, we give it to the original advisor so that we can make it. You're working hard for a reason, and so this goes back to a specialist idea. There's 1 o'clock. I'm in Spain in an hour.
Okay. Whereabouts?
Mallorca.
Nice. Nice. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Obviously, you need to get off to Spain. Is there anything else you needed to get across? Any of you?
There's a couple of things. No, I would like for us to be able to work together more so that I can start, my team's going to start identifying firms that want to work, so then it can use it more as an example. So maybe if advisors don't mind, if you can share examples of advisors that you work with so people can see. Because I think that when we started Personal Touch, when we started The Right Mortgage, everything is about having a client.
Of course, it's the main thing.
Listen, somebody the other day, £120 for protection leads.
Just lead, yeah. When you buy leads, it's a hard crap. I think it's like 5 to 10% conversion rate on those stuff, because they just, again, what we're talking about in terms of trust, building trust, people need to know and build a bit of rapport with the advisor to help with the conversion rate. But it's like a cold call, isn't it? When you buy a lead in, I think it's hard to convert those kind of leads, but I think self-generation is the key. Yeah.
So we've covered goals, we've covered ambition, we've covered appreciation, we've covered all.
But yeah, if anyone wants to connect with you online, Amanda, what is the best place? What, LinkedIn or?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I've got do quite a lot of posts on LinkedIn, or our website. Our details, all of the director details are on there. Phone or email address. The .Wilson at The Right Mortgage. Keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, remove that friction. Well, yeah, I appreciate your time, Amanda. It's been really.
If anybody just wants it, if there's a problem with contracts, I will say this. I feel like it's put my head a bit too much above the pulpit, but I have found a legal person that's happy to look into contracts, because the thing about a contract is, the first and foremost thing about contracts is it's supposed to be beneficial to both parties.
Yeah.
If a lot of advisors or firms, when they leave a network, so they've got the confidence to say, this isn't beneficial for me, it's only beneficial for you. This isn't a legally binding contract. I'm quite prepared to take legal advice. Somebody needs to, people need to start standing up. And there's somebody else I spoke to, but every time he does it for anybody, he has to sign an NDA. So he can't even help, because it's his confidentiality is what's keeping his business going. So there are people out there, you just need to find them. The business consultant that will find.
Yeah, that's a message that needs to be put out there, isn't it? I think, like I said, there's a lot of brokers that are struggling and being restricted in that sense and stuff.
Where to stay. One network has you have to give a year's notice to start your notice period.
Really?
This period is a year. You have to give a year's notice. Have a year's notice period.
I don't know how the hell they can get away. Well, that's the rarity time, but yeah, I appreciate it very much. It's been useful for a lot of people, I'm sure. And yeah, appreciate your time, Amanda.
Okay, lovely. And I'll speak to you soon.
Yep, speak soon. Thank you.